So I was doing some couple of years of intense Hatha Yoga, then I was doing some intense Kundalini mudras over 2 years or something. I was also teaching that. Then I was into some teachings which are more about the Vegana Bhairava Tantra, which is a very beautiful teaching of Kashmiri Shaivism, which actually connects so many things even beyond the normal Hatha Yoga which you might experience. And there's a lot of meditations to do. There's also a little bit of an inclusion of the sexuality because it's very natural for the being to have that. Yeah, now I started to do a program which is called the Chakra Tapas by myself, which means like I immerse myself only into the experience of one chakra at a time.
Welcome to this new episode, and today I am here with Amritesha. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. So Amritesha has been interviewed on this program before, quite a long time ago, I think a couple of years ago at least, and is on the path of yoga since a long time, particularly a form of yoga that we could define as tantric yoga. And today we're going to talk in particularly about the chakras because Amritesha is doing a specific course right now looking at the chakras indeed. But first of all, I'd like to ask you, can you tell us what is your background in yoga?
My background in yoga is that I started several years ago. So I came here to this island to immerse myself fully into this after I found like this experience really works for me, which is connected both with Tantra and with yoga, but maybe I should inform you that Tantra is a form of working with energy, and every Hatha Yoga, which you probably know already, is a form of Tantra because it's just working with energy, working with the body, as a yantra, as a symbol of the divinity. This is what the name Tantra actually, for my understanding, is about. So don't be scared of any things which you have heard Tantra is about. There are so many funny stories.
Neo-Tantra particularly, right?
There's Neo-Tantra in India, there's like, it's connected to black magic, all the tantric people are doing black magic and so on. That's not the case. And there's so much beautiful things.
It is funny because if you go to India indeed and you tell the local people about Tantra, they look at you like, it's got very different meaning, and indeed it is connected with something that is way, way esoteric and also considered not very appropriate in India itself. But then of course in the West, Tantra is very often associated with Neo-Tantra, which is more like working with a partner. I mean, there are different variations of it too, and the island, of course, there's many offering on that sense as well, which I like myself. But you, I think, have been studying what we might be defining more classical Tantra. Is that right? Or
I would say it's more classical, maybe even traditional Tantra. It's a Tantra which is given from guru to disciple, like I'm learning the oral tradition directly from somebody who has a lot of experience. And so this is adding so much more to me than just reading a scripture, which is very valuable to remind myself in a way. But actually some of the real clues and hints are not written down for some good reasons.
okay.
And so you were asking about the background.
Yes.
So I was realizing some years ago that this tantric and yogic path, first maybe I was more attracted even by this neo-tantric part, which is still a part of my life, I could say. But then I also realized that the yogic path is super powerful for me as well. So it's a very good combination. It blends very nicely into each other. And this is what I live myself since then. It was so powerful for me that it was enough to tell like, okay, my ordinary life in Europe, I was giving up. I had a good job, I had a good house, I was married, I was having a nice car and everything which you could imagine. But there was something missing, and I was driven by this urge. I want to know what is actually driving the universe. how is this universe made of, what are the fundamentals of the universe. And as I have been studying physics, and I was also working as a scientist in industry, in university as well, so I had this curiosity already, and I learned about the physical plane. But you know very well, there's not only the physical plane, there's also the plane of prana, which is already going to the realm of pseudoscience. There's the realms of the emotions, which are very known to everybody of us. There's the mental realm, there's even higher realms, which we can tune into, which are the most interesting for me, and I wanted to learn about those. So that's why I was saying, okay, now I learned so many things about physics, now I'm going to learn about the yogic tradition, about the Kashmiri Shaivism, which is also very important for me because it has a very beautiful, first of all, philosophy to understand the world in a very beautiful way. So everything makes sense. It's a very beautiful arrangement of concepts, like for a rational mind even. And on top of that, which is even more beautiful for me, like everything is very much experiential. So there's nothing which just stays theory, it just goes into the living experience of every moment. This is what we will be talking about today also. So this was growing over the last years, the experience was growing. So I was doing some couple of years of intense Hatha Yoga, then I was doing some intense Kundalini mudras over 2 years or something. I was also teaching that. Then I was into some teachings which are more about the Vegana Bhairava Tantra, which is a very beautiful teaching of Kashmiri Shaivism, which actually connects so many things even beyond the normal Hatha Yoga which you might experience. And there's a lot of meditations to do. There's also a little bit of an inclusion of the sexuality because it's very natural for the being to have that. And how to deal with that is taken very well care of. And yeah, now I started to do a program which is called the Chakra Tapas by myself, which means like I immerse myself only into the experience of one chakra at a time. Right now this is Muladhara chakra, like the foundation of life, the life force. Everything is somehow square, you know, like very rock solid. And you can also recognize this in so many parts of life. Like whatever you find which is coming with the number 4, you can find the resonance on Muladhara chakra. So if it's the 4 directions of the sky, maybe it's the 4 pillars of yoga. You know, there's Bhakti yoga, there's Raja yoga, there's Jnana yoga, Karma yoga, precisely. So those 4, they also have a resonance. You have the zodiac signs, which are 12. Of course, this is more connecting to the number of spokes of Anahata chakra, but it's 3 times 4. So you can have it 3 times in Muladhara chakra as well. So this is what I'm exploring for myself in a way, in the daily practice, a couple of hours usually. And so there are some insights which are generated, and I'm trying to share a few of them now while I'm doing those chakra tapas with you. You can join this online or also in the class. If you're here in Phangan, it's done also in my native language, like in German language, and also in English language. And so that was the idea. So I go on 1 chakra at a time every 2 months. Later for the higher chakras it takes a little bit longer, usually 3 months, 4 months, maybe in Ajna, Sahasrara or something. And this is why the series of the chakra specials shall also be in harmony with that I actually am in the practice very much full on and can transmit some of it to you. Maybe it's even something magical happening in this transmission, in this energetic transmission, maybe even right now, because this energy is pretty strong. You can see for yourself how this lands for you. And this is the intention. There's a little bit of time to give you a crash course about Muladhara, about another chakra, about this and that, to understand, to see some new connections. But there's a lot of practical things to do. And this is what we actually want to do. And I like this idea to share just from the practice how it is.
I think it sounds very good, going from physics to metaphysics.
Yes.
So it's amazing because I think you have a PhD in physics and you were, as you said, you were a scientist before. And now you're exploring a realm of existence that is a little bit more esoteric for most people.
Yes.
But it is indeed very interesting, and it can be found in different traditions. I mean, the knowledge of the seeking, of the learning of the metaphysics can be found across all religions, right? Different religion systems.
Yes, this is very beautiful to connect. Yeah.
Even in like a Western, in occultism, for instance. At the moment, I was telling you I'm reading about Rudolf Steiner. Very interesting, not so easy to take. But if you look at Buddhism, Hinduism, there's, if you feel there is not just mind and body, but there is mind, body, and spirit, then a whole range of possibilities to learn open up. And it seems to me that you're so focused on that. You've been years is like the main goal of your life, sort of the seeking of the spiritual knowledge? Or?
This is the thing which I'm about to do, yes. So I want to stay here. So maybe this is a little bit going far, but I'm actually having the wish of reaching enlightenment here on this island, wherever it will happen. But I want to give it a good try, and I want to do the practices which I see are making my life more beautiful, more harmonious, more stable, more strong. And yeah, well, I see this is working in some way, and I hope it goes even the next step and another step. So that was actually my experience, how it was building up. I took like 2 years to convince myself if I really should change all those things, but then I was realizing, okay, there's one small little goal achieved. Some teachers were telling me about this and this and this, and it was going on and on and on, and still taking more steps and more steps, still becoming more intense, more beautiful, more practical also in a way.
Yeah, and when you say practical, I think there are two major sort of like sides of the coin. One is called rationalism or positivism. The other one is empiricism. Empiricism is that reality that you experience directly as a higher value, is like truth is experienced directly. So you feel it inside you, and that's true, rather than like trying to rationalize things from the mind.
For me, this is always both sides together.
Okay.
Because when I experience something and I have no clue what it is, to many people that happened, and you can read, I think it's Mark Whitman or Walt Whitman, he was writing about some experiences which an experienced yogi would say that's probably a state of samadhi, but he didn't understand it. So I apologize if I was taking the wrong name, because this one was often in my mind and I don't realize if it's the correct name. But people like him who were stumbling about something now do a good experience, and actually it's super amazing, but then there's the lack of philosophy and the lack of understanding, a lack of rationalism, and then some of those people start to think, oh my God, I'm going mad. And then they stop it sooner or later. If you come from the rational side only, maybe you say, oh wow, it's a wonderful philosophy, but you don't have the experience of it.
Yeah.
So what's the value of it then? So you need both, because you need the experience, and also you need to understand what the experience is, that you're not taken out by your own reasoning, because it will not stop. So if you don't have a reasoning about this, the reasoning will tell you, okay, you are gone mad, that's it for you. Instead of going to the madhouse, you're doing some down-to-earth work now, right? So this is when the experience is isolated, alone, and you don't really understand it.
Yes, definitely, this decision you made in life, this drive that you have towards, as you said, reaching enlightenment. I mean, that's quite an ambitious goal, I would say. And, it's been driving you. I remember the first time I met you, we were both having in the same class. I don't know if you remember. 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago.
Which class was that?
It was some sort of tantric week class. There was some workshop, maybe a 5-day workshop, and we met you there. And you haven't, at the time you had your old name, not the spiritual name yet. But and you meet many people on the island. But then some people decide really to stay and to focus, on spiritual development full time, and it is quite interesting, I think, for me to see this happening, and also for some people maybe, because it's not a common path, these days. And it does take some courage to actually give everything up. So the goal of a career or a more conventional lifestyle, to completely focus on spirituality, right? But that's your calling, and that's what you're doing.
Correct.
Let's get into it. So
Sure.
the chakra system. I did some work on the chakras, as you know yourself, and it's part of my, I would say, physiology. Of course, you cannot see it physically, but it feels like it's there for me, the chakra system. And of course, there are 7 chakras. First one is the Muladhara, which is the root. Second one is Svadhisthana, which is the sex chakra. Then we have the navel, which is Manipura. Then Anahata, the heart. Vishuddha, the throat. Ajna, the third eye. And Sahasrara, the crown. So that's just to give you an idea. And those are energy centers in the body that have many, many properties. They can be felt, they can be developed. And the practice you're doing is focused particularly on this system, is that right? So
That's the system I'm using, yes.
can you tell us, first of all, your definition of the chakra, or what do you think people should know about the chakra, and what you're doing right now?
So as a definition for the chakras, maybe I could say, you were speaking about the rational side and the empirical side. So I start from the rational side. It's a model to describe how the universe is made. It's a model to describe how my body is made, how your body is made, like your whole being, not only the physical body. Yes, so it's connecting also to the other bodies, which I was mentioning previously. And this is a model to use, first of all. From the empirical side, it's like you can do a couple of practices, and then you feel more and more, like you also feel already, like with the different chakras, you mentioned that. Like there's some energy going there. I have a sensation of some energy, some tingling sensation, maybe some warmth, maybe this, maybe that. And this energy does something to your whole being. And when you get a lot of energy in this area, in this what is actually described by the rationalism about what Muladhara should be, like it's located in the perineum area, it's the root chakra, it's connected to the fundamental life force and so on. And then all those things come together to create a specific energy which is intensified, and then you start to feel different. Like when the energy actually is in this center of force. So it's a center of force, you could say, as a definition, a very rough definition. When the energy is in Muladhara chakra, you feel rock solid, grounded, calm, slow. So I would even love to speak slow, reminding myself of some cartoon movie. There were even some sloth animals on the counter for the bureaucracy. And there was a small bunny, a police woman, and she was trying to get the number plate of some dubious person out there, and she wanted to have it checked in the authorities, and the sloth was sitting there, and just before she could ask any question, you would see how the sloth would take the stamp like this and take it on the paper. Gong.
All very slowly.
And then you see the stamp is going up and the paper slowly detaches from the stamp again. And she's starting to ask again so many questions already, and the sloth is still doing the stamping thing and then looking at her. And then she's coming with somebody and he's asking the sloth, "How are you doing?" No, don't ask this question. And the sloth, "Okay, I feel today very good."
Okay.
And then she's wasting all the time, and she is of course not willing to go in this way, and the story continues. But what I wanted to tell you, like there is a slowness in it which can be funny, but there's a slowness in it which can also be very beautiful. Yes? So you come to a certain way of existence which is self-fulfilled in so many ways. So when we go to relationships, for example, we have a lot of needs for this and for that. Maybe I want to feel protection from somebody. Maybe I want to feel that I'm not alone anymore. Maybe I want to feel like a family feeling. Maybe I want to have somebody to cook for me. Maybe I want to have somebody to repair my motorbike. I want this, I want that. Those are not the wrong things. The problem comes up when it's a neediness, when it's something I cannot live without that. And what is coming in Muladhara chakra, when the energy comes more and more into this wonderful center of force, it's like, okay, there's some self-fulfillment already. Okay, I will be happy if I'm with somebody who is giving me those beautiful things, but I don't actually have to have this person to meeting me every day.
Yeah.
To repair my motorbike. I can repair my motorbike somewhere else. When it's necessary to do, I can do it. So there's no problem. So the things unfold in a natural way. There's a beautiful connection to the things. There's also the knowledge of what needs to be done. So how often is the mind like all over the place? I need to go do this, and in the future I want to do that, and remember in the past I have to be careful of that. In Muladhara it's very much simplicity also about this very moment right now, which connects to an intense contentment also. Yes? You're not worrying about the future, about the past, about this, about that need, about this person. You're just there, you exist. And this existence is extremely beautiful by itself. So this can grow out of Muladhara chakra. And then there's many techniques which are relating to this. I already told you one of the most direct ones, because you can cultivate your contentment. This is called Santosha actually, one of the yamas and niyamas in yoga. And this cultivation of contentment, if you do it right, brings you to also a good connection in Muladhara chakra. So there's some resonance on it. I'm not saying this is only on Muladhara chakra, but there's a beautiful resonance, there's a beautiful connection with those things. And this way you feel also, of course, much more stable, more grounded in yourself, because you don't need to go out of your being anymore. You don't need to rely on somebody, you don't need to do something. So you just are able to sit and enjoy. So I was saying this is something like an experiential wisdom of enjoying the truth. Yes? So there's an experience. It's not just any experience, there's some wisdom about it, because I have also some deeper understanding about those things. There's a decision of having a joyful life, and the truth is very much about what we actually are. So the chakra system gives us some glimpses to connect to our truth, to our divine nature, like it's the same nature for you and for me. That's what I believe, that's what I also would dare to say. Maybe I feel that already in a certain way. Maybe I'm just convincing myself so much that I start to feel that. But that's also something which can sometimes happen, that you train your mind in being faithful, train your mind to do what you actually want to do, train your mind to be happy, train your mind to be content, not complaining about so many things. Simple. Like, okay, this is now, I have air to breathe, I have some lights, I have some water, I have a good friend here sitting next to me, I'm very comfortable, it's not raining on me, the sun is not scorching, everything is fine. So what else to do? No, my girlfriend is somewhere over the ocean, my yoga school doesn't flourish, or my business doesn't flourish so much as I would have loved it. So I can make like this face sitting on the sofa, or I can make this face sitting on the sofa and speaking to you. Yes?
Yes, so I understand that the qualities that you explained about Muladhara, so safety, consistency, being stable, and I think the opposite is instead the air element, because of course we're talking about the earth element. Is that
Yes,
right?
correct. Of
so
course.
The air element is the opposite end of the body as well, and more the thinking function. So when you just exist without thinking too much, without planning too much, without dreaming about the future, you're just here in the moment, grounded, calm, tranquil. it's a good quality. I mean, you can get sluggish or lazy, you can get tamasic in a way. So can you tell us, I mean, once the chakra, if the chakra is balanced, then you tend to have positive emotions coming from it, right?
They come naturally, yes.
Yeah, but also the chakra can be unbalanced.
There are so many things which are happening to chakras normally, like we are born with some mess, you could say. Like in every chakra there is some mess to a certain extent. Maybe I feel more greedy, maybe I feel like I need a lot food to eat, maybe I feel I'm super possessive, maybe I feel I'm super lazy and tamasic, like you said. Like these are all the negative things which can happen on Muladhara chakra, and there's many more. There's a lot of fear of existence, fear of animals. It's connecting to Earth, to Mother Earth. So why would I be fearful of an animal when I'm really beautifully connected to Mother Earth, right? Yeah. So this is a journey which we actually do. So we start at some point, and then we experience the life how it is. So this is given by divinity in any way already, but we have the freedom of choice. So we can say, okay, in this life I want to do something specific. Maybe I have a specific direction. Maybe I want to reach something. Maybe I want to live in a certain way. These are all the choices which we have. And they are also influenced by our environment. Yogis would say they are influenced by the karma which we have. And the karma can actually also be transferred. It can be transformed. It can be postponed. There's a choice. Like the human being connects to consciousness which is higher than karma, and karma can actually be overruled in a certain way. Maybe it's still unfolding in a certain way, but it's not making us suffer so much anymore. So with this consciousness we can take a good decision, and this transforms the impurities which I was mentioning in all the chakras. Now I was referring more to Muladhara chakra. And so there's purity, there's blockages, which means like the energy actually cannot really go through this. I feel always weak. Maybe I feel I don't have any energy, so then I think I'm lazy, but I'm actually not so lazy. I'm just weak because the energy is not flowing properly. It's like you have a small pipe and there's a plug in between. You want to pump water through. It doesn't go through. You need to wash through and clean thoroughly. And when you do this is what the practice is for, then it gets more free and the energy can flow more harmoniously in all the different aspects of it, yes? So you also need this harmony in a chakra and also some balance. So there's some yin, there's some yang, there's some activity, there's some relaxation, which is very important to have this balance in the yogic life always, as much as possible. Of course, we sleep a couple of hours every night. Maybe on average 8 hours would be a normal number. For Muladhara you sleep a little bit more. For the higher chakras you sleep a little bit less. You mentioned the air element already. Some of them, people who are really strongly into the air element, they sleep a couple of hours less. Also more old people sleep less because they are more connecting to the Vata typology, one could say. But this does not necessarily mean that they are highly developed, they are just in a different way. Then it's a question again. The air element is connected to Anahata chakra. So what's the status of Anahata chakra? How is it about the harmony? How is it about the balance? How is it about the general energizing? How is it about the yin yang? And this determines how your life experience actually is. Yeah. So it's not necessarily just beautiful because my predominance may be connected to Anahata chakra, or maybe some influences of my life are on Anahata chakra. I'm saying this because there's a tendency to pamper myself, like, look what I'm good guy I am, I'm on Anahata chakra. Everybody wants that, but not so many actually are that. But to a certain extent we are all like this, because we have all the chakras, Anahata and also the higher, also the lower. And it's always the question about the purity, the harmony, and so on. Yes, and all the practices are helping to get it more clear, more harmonious, and unlock the potential which are actually coming from our true self. Which means, in the end, it's going to extreme beauty. Now I come back to Muladhara chakra again, like there's a natural way of being not only content, there's a natural way of being super happy, a happiness which can be not described by words even. So it goes really, really far, and that's what I am looking forward to explore also on the other higher chakras, because I believe, so here's the faith in a way, I really believe that it's possible to connect to divinity, to connect to God through every chakra. Many people say, you mentioned other religions, for example, some religions are going from the heart to Sahasrara, like the Christian tradition. Then there's Buddhist, which is more connected with Manipura. There's a Japanese, Zen, and so on. It's again Manipura, maybe Ajna in a certain way. India is very much focusing on Ajna chakra, because it's like when you have a nicely developed Ajna chakra, it's a good position for a yogi to reach something. And then you have enough time to go higher to Sahasrara, but we don't need to work for this specifically so much, because it's more easy to reach the lower Ajna chakra than to reach the higher Sahasrara. That's why in India many have this emphasis on Ajna chakra. But I actually do believe there's a way to go even through Muladhara to God, to go through Swadhisthana to God. You mentioned the sexual chakra. It's not only the sexual chakra, Swadhisthana, but it's definitely one way which is very provocative nowadays, and which is also connecting in a certain way to the ideas of Neo-Tantra, and there's also the wish to involve as much as possible the Anahata chakra, yes, which is both very valuable, and of course the intention from some of the people, I'm not saying all of them, but I'm sure some of them really have the intention to reach something which is very pure, very beautiful, and very natural, like a human being. Like even connecting with sexuality and divinity.
Sure.
That's a very normal connection, actually, a very beautiful one.
Because of course you're talking about the qualities, and then you're connecting with the chakras. So the first thing is to feel them and feel the qualities of the chakras, and then you can, as you said, for a period of time you're focalizing on one chakra specifically, so you can harmonize it, feel it better, and see the world, because you said it's also a map to see the world of the chakras, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can have just look at the world through the qualities of a specific chakra you're working with, and then if you are able to have a mystical experience or some sort of a deep connection with the infinite or with the wholeness of the universe, in that sense, I mean, you say it could be achieved at different levels in the body. So you can have a mystical experience through the first chakra, not just through the heart. I mean, everybody feels the second chakra, right? I mean, if you get aroused, and everybody, I'm sure, feels the heart chakra, I hope. If you're feeling in love or close and connected with somebody, you have sensations on these 7 chakras already. It's just a matter of like feeling them more, understanding them rationally, as you said, and then cultivating them empirically, so that really are part of you.
That's really important,
basis,
yes.
Right? Amritesha, of course you're focusing now on the Muladhara chakra. I suppose you're going to go through all the chakras over the months. That's what you said,
that's
right?
What I aim for.
That's very interesting indeed. And I think that as part of your yoga training, you've been sort of working with the chakras for many years. What is sort of the novelty of revisiting these aspects of your yoga practice today? Why are you interested in going through the chakras yet again?
First of all, I might say, in this intensity, I never did it before.
Okay.
Yes? So a chakra, imagine this. You have a universe which is categorized by 7 groups. And those 7 groups have the 7 chakras. So they explain everything in this universe. Mm-hmm. There's no exception. So this is how this model is made. And if you have this in mind, like imagine how big the universe is. There's galaxies over galaxies. Some people say before the universe there were other universes. Some people say next to this universe there's also a foam of many, many, many universes, right? And even if you take it to this moment right here, like some people say, like above so below, like that's a very old mystical teaching. You look into the physical body. And then you see, wow, there's a universe by itself. In this point of the body, maybe in this point of the body, everywhere. There's something connecting to the same principles as the huge universe. And how is life created actually? Nobody really knows. We can put together all the elements physically, which we know are building up the physical body, but still life is not coming from this. There's something else coming with it. Some people say it's consciousness, which is not directly found in matter. So this is the polarity which we have in yoga and tantra usually. So you have to take those two things, and you have to have a description of this through all the chakras. It's like looking at the divinity with a different glass. From one chakra I look through a yellow glass, and then I see the whole universe appearing through this yellow glass. And then I see some specific elements of it. Maybe I see pick an element.
Well, the water element.
The water element. So let's look at the universe through the water element.
Emotions.
Emotions, yes, in a certain way, it's the emotional center, but in Swadhisthana everything is undulating. It's going to one side and then going to the other side. Now I feel great, now I feel bad. So it's always like this.
The waves of the ocean.
Some people call it the waves of the ocean. This is the sort of experience in Swadhisthana chakra. Okay. When you go to Anahata chakra, the experience is quite a different one.
So what element is Anahata?
That would be the air element. You were talking about the love which we all feel in one way or the other. On Anahata chakra, love is really like an infinite space. Like it's unconditional. It's not that I could say to my partner with full truth, like I love you. Because there's two problems. I said I and I said you. There's no I and no you in a certain way. There's an experience of love. Okay, when I'm with you, I can experience love. I'm in love. But when I say I and you, I separate myself already. I cut myself off from my true nature. I cut my partner off from the true nature. And then I can say, my ego loves your ego. My projections love the projections which I make upon you. And I hope that you make some good projections on me. And then I'm really never ever connecting to you. And I still say I love you because I have the concept of me, and you. The love on Anahata chakra is on a certain different quality. That's what I want to say. I'm not saying it's wrong to say I love you. It's very, very beautiful. It's the most beautiful words which you can say. But you also can come to this understanding like there is something like an infinite space, an infinite field of love energy. This is also, of course, through Anahata chakra you connect to the divinity through love. So there's divine love. Look at God. How is God creating this universe? How is divinity acting in this universe? Now there's a connection to Swadhisthana chakra again, because sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's horrible. That's the love of God. That's unconditional love, that's infinite love, which Anahata can connect to. Then there are many, many people born at this very moment, and there are also many, many people dying at this moment. Maybe it's small children in Africa dying of hunger. That's all integrated in the whole mystery of it, in the whole infinity of it. And Anahata chakra offers the first step maybe into this wonderful realm of love, to really get a feeling about this infinity with just one person. Yes. And this is why I say I love you. And in principle, there's no limit to it. So when I feel this type of love, this is not limited to one person. This can be directed to any other person. This can be directed to any other animal or whatever you want to take. It can be directed to the planet. It can be directed to the whole existence of it. It can be directed to my enemies. Like Jesus would say, love your enemies. That's a super difficult thing. Can you actually do that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an enemy? Can you imagine to love your enemy? I'm not saying that I'm capable of doing that, but that's the idea of it. It's infinite, yes? And you want to tune more into this sensation of infinity of love on Anahata Chakra. And through this, you can also reach something which is higher, to something which is connecting everything in this universe through Anahata Chakra. Just speaking about love, this is something which is important to me as well, and also which is inspiring to me to be very happy to go, let's say, one more time through the chakras. So I never focused only on one chakra. There's always in the different practices, like I do something on Muladhara, then I do something on Manipura, then I do something on Ajna. But now it's like only one. So that was never happening before.
Oh, okay.
And in this way, so through Anahata I explained a little bit how to connect. Through Muladhara I also explained it in a certain way. But I want to connect also this word of love to different chakras, because love is infinite, right? So you cannot say love is only on Anahata Chakra. Love is here. Love is on Ajna. Love is on Manipur. Love is on Swadhisthana. Love is on Muladhara. Like maybe it's a different form of love. It's a different expression of love. It can be an expression, I love my existence. So what is so big about that? Well, by itself it's wonderful enough. But still a rainworm has the same love for life. If you cut the rainworm accidentally, you have two parts of a rainworm and everybody is trying to crawl away and to go into the soil to continue to exist. So the worm is loving his existence. I can also love my existence, it's very good for me, like for this human being. On Swadhisthana, the connection would be more easy to see about the sexuality. Like there's a way how men and women are built. You put them together, you have a physical sensation of oneness. Oneness is the very name of yoga. Yoga means oneness or union. So let's do a physical union with your lover. That's valid. So why not experience it through this? And there's many more things which you can go through also in Swadhisthana and in Muladhara. Maybe you say, it's a very wonderful experience of my life. I'm so joyful in my life. This is the headquarter of pleasure. This is the definition of our emotional body in a way. Like, it can be super gorgeously beautiful to be in all those emotions and have a maturity with them. And then I see now I have an intensity in feeling so happy about just the sun is shining at the sky and I'm lying on the beach and some waves are coming to me, I'm full of sensations. That's also very beautiful. This can be taken higher to reach a state of union with the universe in a way. So I want to experience this in all the different ways, in Muladhara, in Swadhisthana, in all the chakras. That's why I'm super excited to do this practice much, much more. And this is also very important to understand, to be clear, like my experience right now, I try to focus only on one thing. So whatever I do, I try not to sublime my energies, I try not to think of Sahasrara, I try to stay in this groundedness in Muladhara. And when I'm going on to the next one, then I try to stay on this. Some people who were also doing this, or maybe will do that soon, have a little bit of doubt, like, how would that be only to be in Swadhisthana? Horrible. I cannot imagine myself to be there.
It's also social interaction, it's
yes.
the way you dress.
Very much.
It makes me think of Aphrodite, the goddess of Greece,
Yes, very beautiful.
And she's very artistic in some ways, very connected with people. Mm-hmm. And that's also Svadhisthana, because these chakras are literally such a huge sort of collection of different characteristics and word resonances. Mm-hmm. It's not just one thing, because it's sexual chakra, you think it's sex, but there's 50 other things you can connect to Svadhisthana, for instance.
Guess how Swadhisthana looks like to me right now? So when I try to be in Muladhara, Swadhisthana is so much up in the resonance, in the frequency, that I sometimes think, wow, this is heaven. And then I see somebody suffering and being super sad and super dramatic and everything. And I can still sometimes feel like, wow, what an amazing energy up there, because I'm still like a rainworm, you know? Like it's a matter of perspective. And this also, I'm just telling to myself before I'm going to Swadhisthana. So maybe this is one part of this beautiful experience, that I can see, okay, in all the different facets which are there, there's still something like an intense beauty, an intense joy, an intense bliss of the divinity which can be seen through. I'm not talking about to be subjected to that experience, but to be with the experience and to feel every nuance of it and to enjoy it in a certain way. It's difficult to describe because it's not about now I want to feel the pain of my life in a way and I'm a masochist. It's more like, okay, it's there and maybe there's a connection to this contentment which we were talking about before. Like there's still a contentment, okay, and this is how it is right now. I do the best which I can with it. And then I continue to have the clarity also about my path, where I want to go, and I do the right thing. So this is again on Muladhara chakra, like the hero archetype is on Muladhara chakra also.
Okay.
And the hero has a certain knowledge about what actually is to do.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't understand why, but he knows very clearly, okay, this is the right thing. Can be instinctual, right? Can be intuitive. So there's many ways how to connect to this. And there's something which is similar on Swadhisthana chakra, which is more like understanding, like this image with the waves on the ocean is very beautiful, because when you go more into the water element, this is more like, okay, maybe in my past years I was more concerned with the ups and the downs of the waves on the top of the ocean, but actually it's not about the surface of the ocean, it's about the ocean itself. So the waves, of course, are on the ocean, but the ocean is something way bigger, and the ocean lives with the waves, and the ocean enjoys, like, okay, the wind is now caressing my surface, and it's a beautiful experience. And this is how all the ups and downs, pleasure and pain come and go and come and go. But there's this connection to this bigger experience of all the waves at the same time, plus depth of thousands of meters in the ocean, right?
Wow. You know, it's a shame that knowledge like this one is being disregarded as a pseudoscience, as irrelevant, as a little bit wacky, because I have this experience as well of working with the chakras and embedding the chakras into my psyche in a way or another. And it's fantastic for me, and it changed my life. But also, as you said, every chakra has got an element. You can look at the world through the lens of elements, like the resonance or even the physical appearance of something which is earthy is very different from something which is hairy, right? So, how can you learn about yourself and the world beyond what's sort of like the cliche of everyday's life and the narratives of the media, etc.? Well, if you want to do that, yoga is a path, a very valid and complex but very beautiful path. And indeed, if you do yoga, at some point you'll come across the chakras, and you'll come across some of the esoteric aspects of this knowledge that are not mainstream, but even because they're not mainstream in some ways, they're very beautiful in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So tell us again, so what is the course you're doing now? So it's in German and in English, it's online and on the island, is that right?
I would like to answer the question which you asked.
Tell me.
Because I was hearing about the pseudoscience and what was the other thing? So generally it's a very metaphysical question which you are asking, and it's a beautiful one, and it's a very important one. That's why I would like to talk about this first a little bit. So how to deal with that? This connects in a way also to how I experience life. Like I've been trained as a scientist doing experimental physics. The nature of doing experimental physics means I'm asking a question to nature, and then I get a response from nature, and then I write down my notes and I try to describe it. And then I ask the same question again, like I make an experiment, like simple one. I take this pillow, I let it loose, dong, it goes down, right? So let's do it again. Let's see if it flies to the ceiling. Maybe it does, who knows? Okay, put it here, right here, about this height, let it loose, dong. Wow, it goes down again. Let's do it one more time, dong, and 100 more times. So this is the repetition factor in science, which is very important. And then you can say, okay, Newton was telling like there's the law of gravitation, and this is how nature acts. So it's a description of it. And also we can do another experiment. Now you're the scientist, take this pillow, let's see, maybe if you let it drop, it flies to the wall.
Let's try. Whoops!
Wow, it goes down again. And if you do that again and again, it's the same thing.
I can repeat that experiment with the same results.
And independent of the person doing it.
Yes, that's science, right?
If you also have to be aware about the environment conditions. Like maybe you have it like this, and then you give an impulse up. Now I let it loose. Whoops! It goes to the sky, right?
Yes.
That's a different condition of the environment, which also needs to be taken care of. So this scientific view still holds true in yoga and tantra. Because, come on, when I stretch my legs like this, I feel some energy going through. Maybe I feel the circuit of energy going here, maybe I feel this arousing of my root chakra, and those things. So there's a certain teaching about it, but there's also a certain experience about it. It's an experience which is building up for myself, but it's also an experience which was building up for you already and so many other people. So it's independent, it's repeatable. And this is how there's also a science about it. Of course, when you look into Wikipedia, prana is called a pseudoscience because they don't have the data like you have and I have. But if you would take it very seriously and if you would be the advocate of those things, like big time in this world, you could say, okay, I made an experience, a series of experience with so many different people, and you can pin it down, okay, when I do this, metaphysically, that will happen. When I do this with my body, then this energy flow will happen. When I focus my mind in that way, which is very important for yoga, the focus of the mind, then this will happen. When I'm able to stop my mind, which is like the goal in Patanjali yoga in a certain way. You want to reach nirvana, nirvikalpa samadhi, however you want to call it. If I'm able to stop my mind, this will happen. Are you able to stop your mind? Well, maybe for a second, or maybe for 5 seconds, but not for half an hour. This is what yogis are working with. And then there's a description of actually what is happening then. And so this is the important part of it, to say, okay, there is a science, there's a knowledge about it, and there's also coming an experience. And the other question was what to do about this. In yoga we say you need to do the things which you love to do, because then you do it with your full heart. You don't drag yourself to the yoga mat. If you have to drag yourself all the time to the yoga mat and you do like, oh no, I have to do yoga, I don't want. I just think of some nice food and maybe of my girlfriend, and I have to do this tomorrow, and I have to go to the shop and buy me some water. When you do yoga like this, it will not work. So then don't do it, do something else, do something which you like to do. For some people it's like, some people really want to go to the monastery and start praying. That's wonderful. Some people say sexual tantra is for me. That's wonderful. Some people say yoga is for me. That's also wonderful. But find something which is working for you, something which you love to do. Maybe you say just, I have very good experiences when I'm meditating, even if it's 10 minutes every day. Or maybe every second day. And then I feel great, and I feel nourished, and I feel balanced, and all this from everywhere is just going away in a little bit. That's a good practice if you enjoy this. So amplify the things which are working for you, which are nice for you. In yoga we would also add to say it's not about being only hedonistic and opportunistic, like only the things which I like, and I go with the flow, like this and that and so on. And now I like an apple, and now I like chocolate, and now I like a huge amount of pork. Then sooner or later the yogis would tell, okay, there's a certain limit to it. Like I don't want to kill an animal, for example, because that's the yama and niyama of ahimsa. I don't want to kill an animal. So then I would say, maybe I have a craving for this, but this is not what I want to do. So then the consciousness which we all have, in a certain way, acts against nature. This is a very important fact, because this is sometimes overlooked easily, and there's a tendency to say, I just want to do what is good for me. Yes, in a certain way I said that also. Do something which you like, but also have the consciousness about your direction, where you want to go.
The bigger picture, not just what is good right now, but also what is good tomorrow as well. So I think finding the balance between living for today and planning for tomorrow, or reaching a bigger goal, it's one of the things in life that are very difficult to do. But if you get the right balance, and if you have like harmonious chakras, you feel in Muladhara is solid and calm and relaxed, but also Svashisthana is engaged, obsessive, and Manipura is strong and gives a good direction, and Anahata is open, so you can trust the world and you can love what's coming to you. I mean, life does get better, I mean, it did get better for me, at least. Okay. So I think we covered the subject. For whatever half an hour interview is, I think people get a glimpse of what the chakras are. Maybe they get a glimpse of some of the more esoteric aspects of yoga, which is not just the vinyasa, right? And so you're saying you're doing in German online and in English.
Yes.
So
actually, I do both. Mm-hmm. So the original idea was I just wanted to express in a way the beauty of the experience which I'm having for myself. I don't want to just keep it for myself, so I'm offering it to everybody who wants to profit from this. Okay. So there's a transmission happening also, which is hopefully very fruitful for you. So I have two possibilities, 2 times 2 possibilities. One is I can teach in English, and the other one I can teach in German language. Okay. And I can teach online, and I can teach here on Koh Phangan. Okay. So I have a private place here where you can actually come and join these practices. Maybe this one, which is next Sunday, or maybe for the next higher chakra on Svadhisthana will be about 8 weeks later, something like that. Okay. And then it's possible, also if you don't want to come to it's not a yoga hall, it's a living hall, in the living room. So then you can say you can still join via Zoom. So that's the possibilities which you have.
But that's good. But it's nice that you came back after 2 years and teaching us something interesting. So Amritesha, thank you very much for making the way up to Chalaklam and
thank you,
back
Luca.
to my home. And Kapun Kap, thank you.
Kapun Kap, namaste.